Hola! It's so good to see you again for a new video of the Mexico Relocation Guide. I am Mariana, your host, and today I will show you a true hidden gem, a city that offers excellent weather, a really nice location in Mexico, safety, a calm pace of life, and a growing infrastructure that provides all the basic amenities that one needs on a daily basis. Welcome to San Luis Potosi. In this video, we're going to walk you through some key aspects you need to know if you're considering San Luis Potosi. We're going to cover things like, where is it located? What's the weather like? What neighborhoods are recommended? How to get around? What medical options you have? Things to do? And so much more. So, let's get started. Comencemos. San Luis Potosi is a state located in the central north part of Mexico. And San Luis Potosi, the city, is also the capital. It's located on the western side of the state. San Luis, as most locals call it, was once a little mining province back in colonial times. But today it has become an industrial hub and one of the most important metropolitan areas in the Bajío region, which is a region of Mexico. Now, if you're planning to live here, you'll probably want to know what the weather is like. The overall climate is semi-desertic, which means it is very dry throughout most of the year, with the exception of the rainy season, which lasts from May through November. May is the hottest month with an average high of 83 degrees Fahrenheit and an average low of 56 degrees Fahrenheit. The coolest month is January with an average low of 41 degrees Fahrenheit and an average high of 69 degrees Fahrenheit. We visited San Luis Potosi in late August and it was really nice. It was very comfortable. Daytime temperatures rarely exceeded 77 degrees Fahrenheit and at night they dropped to around 55 degrees. And it was very sunny, just very comfortable overall. The landscape is beautiful. The city sits in a high altitude dry valley and the surrounding mountains are a beautiful sight, especially during the rainy season when everything is very green and very lush. Now, despite being a growing industrial hub, San Luis remains a calm and peaceful city, resembling more of a small town than really a larger city. In terms of infrastructure and amenities, you can expect a medium-sized city with a lot of things to do and a good infrastructure. The city has over 1 million people, so it's no surprise that it's still developing a new urban area and expanding its territory, but it is pretty large considering the amount of people that live here. In any growing city, there are going to be some issues directly resulting from its growth, such as heavier traffic, petty crimes, and of course water shortages, especially because of the area and where it sits and how dry it can get. Now, overall, I would say it's a very safe place, perfect for those who want to slow down but still enjoy the amenities of a big city. And if you want to get the small town feeling but still be able to drive to a mall, catch a movie, have a Costco nearby, San Luis would be an ideal place for you. Now, there are very little to no expats in the city. Of course, there are some foreigners living here, especially since GM and BMW have brought their factories here. However, don't expect a big community. Weekly gatherings or anything like that you'll see in some other expat cities. The foreigners living here don't seem to mingle regularly with other foreigners. So if you ultimately decide to live in San Luis Potosi, it's recommended that you also come with the expectation to mingle with the locals and learn at least some basic Spanish to be able to get by. Now, of course, you can navigate with the basics. People in Mexico are usually very friendly and accommodating to foreigners in the process of learning a new language. However, don't expect a big bilingual population in San Luis Potosi. Now that you know some of the vibe of what it's like to live here, let's get into neighborhoods that we recommend. After doing a lot of research and a thorough tour of the city, we gathered a list of neighborhoods, each with different pros and cons that look like nice places to live. The first areas are going to be Lomas and Tangamanga. Most of the west area of the city is located on the hills, and almost all neighborhoods in this area have the word Lomas in their name. Meanwhile, Tangamanga Park and the Tangamanga neighborhood occupy a large chunk of the city's southwest. Lomas/Tangamanga, this area is known for having a higher end of living with higher end homes and just higher end stores. These neighborhoods are usually associated with San Luis's wealthiest residents, but that doesn't mean that you can't find reasonable rentals here. Now, to give you an idea, we saw nicer, older neighborhoods, maybe dating back to the late 80s, that have big houses with front and backyards, wide streets, lovely parks, well-maintained infrastructure, and rent prices in these types of neighborhoods were about 20,000 to 25,000 pesos per month. That's about 1,000 to 1,250 US dollars for a 3-bedroom house. Of course, depending on the exchange rate. However, in bordering neighborhoods or even in those same ones, just on a different street, you can find remodeled houses or newly built high-rises with rents that range from 30,000 to 40,000 pesos, which is higher, 1,500 to about 2,000 US dollars a month. So you can see prices do vary widely depending on the level of home you're getting, how modern it is, where it's located, and those kinds of things. Then you have neighborhoods like the Club Campestre or La Loma Residencial, both of which have golf courses. Now, houses in these neighborhoods and their surroundings usually cost 50,000 pesos or about 2,500 US dollars a month and more. They start at about that price. This area has several pros. I mean, it has 24/7 security, it's peaceful, has really nice manicured areas, good roads, really pleasant atmosphere, and then of course you have access to golf courses. Now, we saw several big and small malls in the area. There are also supermarkets, local markets, and all kinds of little shops, most of them within walking distance, that should satisfy all your basic daily needs. However, the cost of living tends to rise not only in rent, but in basically every aspect of life, from essential services to, of course, food and, housing, things like that. Now, I mentioned earlier that San Luis has a variety of foreign factories that have made its way to this area. Now, these are concentrated in the southernmost part of the city, which is also known as la zona industrial. This has also seen an increase in the overall development of new neighborhoods and, of course, the amenities around them. Gated communities are the predominant form of housing in this area. Now, there is a little town called Pozos, which is 100% a traditional small Mexican town. Now, for a while, you'll see some old world architecture and narrow streets. But beyond this small entrance, you'll find a lot of new urban developments, most of them, again, being gated communities. These suburbs are trying to offer a similar atmosphere to the Lomas, Tangamanga area in terms of security and overall amenities, but without the high price. It's important to keep in mind that this area is still being developed, and a lot of the amenities are not going to be within walking distance. Inside your gated community, you'll have access to things like a pool, a gym, nice streets, parks to walk your dog in, and maybe other amenities. But you will definitely need a car, or at least you will need to depend on Uber or Didi a lot to live here. In the Zona Industrial area of town, you can easily find a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house with access to a gym, green areas, and access to a community pool for about 8,000 pesos a month, which is around 400 US dollars. Now, there are also fancier suburbs where you can find tennis courts, paddle courts, a clubhouse, grill areas, and other nicer community amenities. Rental in these types of communities range between 16,000 to about 25,000 pesos a month, which is about 800 to 1250 USD, depending on the exchange rate. So as you can see, it is much more affordable to live in the Zona Industrial, but it is further out from the city, and of course, it is still being developed. Unlike other cities in Mexico, the downtown or centro area is not the trendiest place to live in San Luis Potosi. Now, it is an area filled with history and beautiful monumental buildings, but we must say that it looked a bit rusty and not as charming as other central areas of Mexico. It had kind of a gray aspect, and there were many streets with unmaintained infrastructure, potholes, and some abandoned houses. And even though that rough look can cause a negative impression, rest assured that the area and the city in general is safe and filled with a lot of amenities. Now, mainly in Centro, you'll have the number of stores available within walking distance and the fact that you're going to be better connected if you want to move to a distant area of the city. So there's going to be access to more public transportation and those kinds of things. So in other words, you will not need a car if you ended up living in Centro. Now, rental prices range significantly. However, to give you an idea, we found a 3-bedroom, 3-bath house for around 10,500 pesos a month, which is around 525 US dollars. This was in one of the nicest neighborhoods in Centro, which is Barrio de Tequisquiapan. Now, you could also find smaller apartments going for 7,000 to 8,000 pesos, or around 350 to 400 US dollars a month. And you can even find bigger houses going up to 18,000 pesos, which is around 900 US dollars a month. Now, just remember, The most common con or the most common negative in any historic downtown in any city of Mexico, not just San Luis Potosi, is going to be the noise. If you aren't tolerant of constant noises, then Centro shouldn't be your first choice. So now that we have covered some neighborhoods, let's go over what you can expect your monthly utilities to cost in San Luis Potosi. To give you an idea, your water bill will be issued every month, and for a two-person household, you should expect to pay around 500 to 600 pesos per month. Now, your electricity bill will be issued every 2 months, and since you don't need air conditioning or heating in this area of the country, you can expect to pay around 200 to 300 pesos a month. That's around 10 to 15 US dollars per month. Of course, you get a bill every 2 months, so really you can expect it to be around 400 to 600 pesos for an every 2 month period. Now, of course, this depends on your household and your consumption. Private companies provide propane gas. The most popular ones in San Luis Potosi are Potogas and Global Gas. Now, when you're looking for a rental, you should ask your landlord what kind of gas installation the house has. The usual options are cilindro or one that's called estacionario in Spanish. For propane gas, you can expect to pay around 700 pesos every 2 to 3 months, depending on how much you cook and whether you use a water heater daily and those kinds of things. So that's about 35 US dollars every 2 to 3 months. When you live in San Luis Potosi, you can also expect to have high-speed internet available throughout the city, and the cost will depend on the type of speed and the package that you buy. The usual packages are around 100 megabytes of speed internet, which will cost you around 500 to 650 pesos every month. That's about 25 to 33 US dollars. Now, it can go up from there if you choose to have cable TV, a higher speed, and other services. Now, bear in mind that it might be harder to get fiber optic internet in the newer suburbs, like for example, Zona Industrial, since a wired network still needs to be made available. In those cases, we do recommend satellite internet, and there are a few local providers. However, we've heard many great things about Starlink. We just recommend that you have ample roof space in the house that you live in, and the antenna can be placed without too many obstacles, so you get a pretty good signal. Now, real quick before we get into grocery shopping for San Luis Potosi, I want to interrupt this video to let you know about our free Move to Mexico cheat sheet. The free cheat sheet is a great, easy to follow resource to help you start your research on moving to Mexico. You'll understand whether you qualify for residency, what are some things you need to consider before moving to Mexico, and more. The link is in the comments of this video. Okay, now let's get into my favorite topic, which is food and groceries. Now, San Luis Potosi has many local mercados and tianguis, which are pop-up markets spread out throughout the city. In the historic center, you have 4. The oldest markets in the city are Mercado Hidalgo, Mercado Revolución, Mercado República, and Mercado La Merced, which is also known as Mercado Tangamanga. Out of the centro, or the historic downtown area, there are several big local markets where you can get most of your monthly supplies. Some of these are Mercado San Luis 400, Central de Abastos, and Tianguis de Abasto Popular, which is open only on Sundays. If you don't need to go to the market and you just need a few things, there are also tienditas, which are small corner stores, and you can find these everywhere, especially in our list of recommended neighborhoods, with the exception of the Zona Industrial area, which, since it is still under development, may not have as many of these smaller stores. Now, if you're looking for a big box supermarket, the city has 4 of them. It has H-E-B's, Costco, several Walmarts, Bodega Aurrerá, Chedraui, Soriana, Fresco, Oxxos. You also have Farmacias Guadalajara and several other big box brands or supermarkets and local bodegas. Now, these are scattered throughout the city, providing most of the neighborhoods with a convenient option for grocery shopping. Now, wherever you choose to live, there will be a mall or a big box supermarket nearby that will provide you with most of the things that you'll need on an ongoing basis. If you're looking for organic, vegan, gluten-free, and special diet kind of stores, we did see a significant number of natural or naturistic stores in Centro, most of them selling supplements and some organic products. In the Lomas Tangamanga area, we also saw some options for vegans or people looking for organic and handmade products, artisanal kind of foods. However, be mindful of your expectations and remember that this is still a growing industry in most of Mexico and, of course, in San Luis Potosi. Now, you probably are wondering, what about healthcare? Well, during our visit, we learned that the medical services in San Luis Potosi are among the best in the country. You have hospitals like the Hospital Angeles or Hospital Lomas, which offer first-class medical services. They have well-trained staff and state-of-the-art facilities with top-notch equipment. These hospitals can provide the same medical quality as some in Mexico City. Several more clinics, hospitals, and private practices are scattered throughout the city. On the screen, you're going to see a few recommendations that were mentioned to us by locals. Now, for minor issues, you can always visit your local farmacia or your pharmacy. Most have a doctor on site. The most popular ones in Mexico are farmacias similares, which are also known as SIMI. Here, you can get a quick checkup for 50 pesos, which is around $2.50, and a prescription for antibiotics if you need one, which you can get directly from that pharmacy at lower costs. So if you have good quality medical services near you, and that is an important factor for you to consider where you're going to be living in Mexico, we think that San Luis Potosi checks all the boxes. Now, what about getting around? Well, transportation in the city is fairly easy, especially if you stay close to your neighborhood. Driving around could be challenging, especially if you are still adjusting to Mexico's driving style and kind of the unspoken rules, which can seem disorganized and sometimes very rude to foreigners. In any case, it's not a chaotic experience. You'll mostly deal with some not so well maintained roads, the occasional driver who's always in a hurry, honking at you, and of course, traffic jams. Now, it was published that San Luis Potosi is ranked number 8 on the list of cities with the most time wasted in traffic jams within Mexico. So if you don't plan to have a car, I suggest staying in the Centro or in the Tangamanga area, which is more connected to pretty much anything that you would need. These areas are walkable, and you'll be able to do your shopping trips within a 2-mile radius, so you won't be stuck in too many traffic jams if you do have a car. The public transportation system consists of bus routes that are supposed to connect most urban areas in the city. However, we learned from locals that this is not really the case, and that many areas are still out of the network. Uber and Didi are widely available in the city, as are taxis. Now, we used Uber to go out one night. The service was good and affordable, and it didn't take too long for the drivers to pick us up. The cost was 220 pesos for a round trip from the Airbnb to Centro, which is a 15-minute drive each way. The city has a bus station that offers trips to any major city in Mexico and to many nearby towns, and you can also fly directly from some cities in the USA to San Luis Potosi. And now, last but not least, where are you going to have fun in San Luis Potosi? Well, this is obviously kind of subjective because everyone has their own idea of what having fun is. But let's review some of the most common options where people enjoy themselves. If you like to go out for a nice dinner, maybe a glass of wine or a nice cocktail, I would say that your best option is either Centro or towards the west near Barrio de Tequisquiapan, or also in the famous Calzada de Guadalupe, which is a popular avenue in the downtown area that is walkable and lively. Now, several fine restaurants and bars are also located along Venustiano Carranza, one of the city's main roads and one of the liveliest areas. But if you're not really into going out at night, you can also enjoy yourself in one of the many malls. You can catch a movie in one of the many Cinépolis or Cinemex in the city, or even try the Cineteca Alameda, which is a public movie theater that constantly hosts international movies, expositions, and a lot of events. There is also an excellent cultural offering. There are several museums, art galleries, exhibitions, festivals, theaters, some events with totally free admission. Most of these events are held in buildings in the downtown area. So the best way to keep track of these events is to constantly go to Centro to check the posters or follow the social media pages of the theaters and government departments that usually bring these festivals to life. Now, if you're a golfer, there are a couple of golf courses across town, and the prices vary depending on whether you're a member or not. One of the best golf courses is La Loma Golf, which is a Jack Nicklaus signature course. Their premises also have things like paddle courts, and they host yoga classes. For those who are more into nature, like hiking or just going to a nice green area to have a picnic or just hang out, Tangamanga Park is a big park. It's bigger than Central Park in New York City. That gives you an idea. And it has several attractions for everyone. Here you have a running and cycling track, an artificial lake where you can bring your kayak, there's grilling areas, a kids area, a planetarium, and so much more. I mean, it's an enormous green space within the city. And surrounding the city are many big hills and mountains for those who are more adventurous and like challenges. Now, if you want to explore the surrounding areas of San Luis Potosi and you like road trips, then this is a great place to be. You are very much in the center of the country, making the drive to other cities and towns relatively easy and quick. For example, Querétaro is only 2 hours away, Guanajuato is 3 hours away, San Miguel de Allende is 2.5 hours away, Mexico City is 5 hours away, and Monterrey is 6 hours away. And if you don't want to drive, remember that in Mexico, the bus lines are first class. They're very comfortable, very affordable, and they can get you from point A to point B in a very comfortable bus. And San Luis Potosí also has an international airport. Now let me know in the comments, what do you think about San Luis Potosi? Is this somewhere that you'd like to live? I'd love to know. Now San Luis treated us wonderfully, and I'm sure it's going to do the same for you. As much effort as we put into sharing and showing you all that you need to know and see from every place we visit, the best thing you could do is to really come and see for yourself. If you need help with your move to Mexico, please visit our site, mexicorelocationguide.com. We have a ton of free resources like videos, blog posts, interviews, a free residency guide to help you start your research, and so much more. So I won't say goodbye. I'm going to leave you with an hasta pronto, and I will see you all in our next video. Gracias!